And yet another major ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court today. It was a huge victory for female athletes all across the country, frankly, women in general. In a 6-3 decision, the court sided with West Virginia and Idaho, upholding state laws that protect girls and women's sports by requiring athletes to compete based on biological sex. Now, Riley Gaines, who has been on the front lines of this fight, wrote on X, quote, "The law of the land now reflects the reality in common sense. It's insane that it requires celebrating, but it is a victory nonetheless." And she joins us now with more. Riley, first of all, credit to you. I mean, I'm not sure the country would be fully up to speed on this, but for your outspokenness and your willingness to even, take a lot of heat and a lot of fire for speaking out on the issue. But the reality is, I'm having a hard time understand, why would a guy like James Tallarico, who believes there are 6 genders, not 2, a guy that's fighting for for trans men to have access to abortion, how did we get to these arguments in this country? If you would have told me at the beginning of my career I'd be discussing any of these issues, I don't think I would have believed it.
No way, Sean. That's why I said in that tweet, it's insane that we celebrate this, because I think even just 10 years ago, if you would have told us that the Supreme Court was ruling that boys and girls are different and that boys don't belong in girls' sports, I don't think we would see necessarily applause. We would see people saying, well, duh, of course boys aren't girls. Of course they shouldn't be competing in women's sports. But here we are today. And I will say, quite frankly, I don't allow myself to be surprised anymore, considering the fact that we have a sitting Supreme Court justice who seemingly couldn't answer the question of what is a woman because she claims she's not a biologist. Which happens to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No disrespect to her. I'm not a veterinarian, but I know what a dog is. So that's just my thoughts there.
Well, I mean, it's that simple. But whatever happened to the idea? I mean, Title IX was designed to give women equal opportunity in collegiate sports, and it's worked so well for female athletes, going on decades now. Why do they want to change this? Now, if they want a third category, maybe for trans athletes, okay, I guess they could engage the country in that debate. Why do they feel biological men have a right to be in women's locker rooms and compete in women's sports?
It's such a good point, because they do all of this, whether it's the infringement on women's rights, whether it's the safeguarding of children, or rather the lack thereof, whether it's the infringement on parental rights. They do all of this under the guise of progressive, right? Indicating that there's progress being made. We are moving in the positive forward direction. But I think it's worth pointing out that what we're seeing is actually regressive, specifically as it pertains to women's sports. What we're talking about today, it's really utterly misogynistic. It's taking us back in time at least 50 years. So there's nothing about this movement that is progressive. But even still, this is the hill that they're willing to die on, as they've made it very clear. I mean, just as you said, look at the nominees or the people that they have put forward, even following the election, where I was under the impression that they would certainly recant from their previous voting records and positions, given the fact that President Trump's most effective commercial or campaign during the last election cycle was his campaign and saying, look, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you. I would have imagined, I'm no political strategist, although I do think I could advise the Democrats better than their current ones if their idea of success is to win. I would have imagined that they would have distanced themselves from that position, specifically on the issue of gender ideology, but that's not what they've done at all. They have only further leaned into their extremism, where they have people like James Tallarico, who believes God is non-binary and that there are 6 genders. It's insane.
Do you know what the other 4 are? I can only name 2.
Yeah, you, me, and 100% of common sense Americans can only name 2, Sean.
All right. Well, in all honesty, congratulations to you. I'm not sure all of this would have happened had you not shown a lot of courage and bravery and been on the front lines of fighting this battle. You deserve a lot of credit for what happened today. Congratulations. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.